everybody. As we approach the holiday seasons, if you're anything like me, you want to bring games to your friends and family gatherings, but sometimes it's kind of hard because a lot of times when you're going to these gatherings, there are people who don't necessarily play a lot of games or are unfamiliar with the genre. And so it can be kind of hard to pick out that perfect game to bring. And yeah, so this video is going to be all about me talking to you about 3 of my favorite games to bring to the holiday friends and family gatherings. So it can be kind of difficult to understand exactly the group dynamic that you're going to be approaching, and so this works with my groups of people and games similar to this, and I'll talk a little bit about why these 3 games work pretty well to any group, and how I can kind of like maneuver around and change the games based on if I know that maybe we have had a little bit of game history, or this person has no game history whatsoever, and figure out how to do that and bring in new people to the hobby. The first up is Wavelength. Wavelength is not really a party game, but an association game by Wolfgang Warsch, and it's all about trying to associate different words. The way that it works is you have this grid that creates a spectrum. You will have a card that will have, like, this one says temporary and permanent. The clue giver then checks and sees where this is on the spectrum and tries to give them a clue so that the guessers can put this marker right at the right location. The reason I like this game so much for word gatherings, one, it's very easy to set up, very easy to teach. I find it's actually kind of harder to teach the rules rather than just dive in and start playing it, where, you know, it's like, okay, I'll be the clue giver. I want you to put this marker right where you think temporary and permanent, let's say life. Maybe it's right there in the middle. Is it temporary or is it permanent? I don't know. So you put it right there in the middle. And that felt like it just got really deep all of a sudden, but sorry about that. Anyways, and just like let that play through. The game can be played cooperatively or in a competitive nature in teams. And so depending on the size of the group you have, it can work well with a lot of different sizes of groups. I like this game because it's really approachable. It's really easy to pull out, and it's a conversational lubricant. So if you have a larger group, this can play, I think it says up to 12 plus. You can play so many people with this game, or you can play 2. And really it's an excellent catalyst for conversation. So Wavelength by Wolfgang Warsch is one that usually makes it into my bag when I go over to a holiday gathering. Next up, we have the Vlaada Chvátil Pictomania. So Pictomania is another excellent game for the holiday gatherings because of how fun and just chaotic it can be. So the way that this works is you're gonna be drawing pictures. So it's kind of similar to, not necessarily similar to Pictionary, but it kind of fills that same vein. And so with that sense, if you can explain it like that, it can be pretty easy to bring to the table if people are a little bit more receptive to things that they're familiar with. So Pictomania is kind of like an excellent speed Pictionary type game. What you're doing is you are going to be given a specific word, and you have to try and draw that well enough that people can guess your word, but also quick enough so that you can be guessing other people's words. Because if you guess first and you're correct, you get the most points. So there is an element of speed. This game typically devolves into just laughter and just hilarity. Some of the pictures are just insane. Some of them are way too good because they took too long on it, and then they end up not getting a lot of points on the guessing phase. Pictomania, I think, has one of the more fun elements, right? It's also just really easy to sit down. It doesn't feel like a game, which can be intimidating to some people, but it does add that competitive nature that necessarily Wavelength doesn't always have because you can't play it cooperatively. Pictomania can be played with children, it can be played with grandparents, and that's why I love it so much. It's that element of a social game where you don't necessarily have to understand all the inside jokes or all the ongoing or going-ons that sometimes you have to do with some of these association games. This is literally just drawing, and it's a blast. And then finally, if there is going to be some time where you can maybe form a little bit smaller groups, or you have some people that are interested in more, quote, games. Yeah, I hate that term, but that's I've heard it around, and you know what I'm saying when I say that. I love King Domino. King Domino works so very well to introduce people because it feels like dominoes. What you're doing is you're creating a kingdom out of these dominoes that you're drafting as a really interesting and unique drafting mechanic, and then you're adding them on and scoring in basically how many crowns you have in an ongoing line of one type of terrain. So the scoring is really easy. Games take about 15 minutes, and it's one of those games that once you score it, it kind of clicks for a lot of people, and so a lot of people will want to replay it. This game can play up to 4 players. I think it goes to 5 with the expansion, but who knows? Usually I'm playing with 4. There's a 2-player variant, which is a lot of fun, where you go a 7x7 grid instead of a 5x5 grid. So this game works really well with some people who are kind of more interested in maybe what you do as your hobby. You can bring this out and it feels very much like a game to them. And I highly recommend King Domino, and it's also nice and small so you can fit it in a backpack. There are so many games. Usually these are 3 that make it into my bag, and the rest of my bag, no, I'm going to say bags. It's plural. I usually take more than 1 bag whenever I'm going to a gathering, just because I like to be prepared and bring as many games as I possibly can. So these are 3 of them that I typically find myself as repeat spots in that bag. I also try and understand what people are looking for when they think about games. Are they more experienced? 7 Wonders is another excellent game if people have a little bit more experience with games and want to do some more gamey games. Or if you're going to a gathering where everyone's hardcore gamers, you probably already know what to bring, and they're probably bringing some stuff too. But what do you like to bring to your family or friend at gatherings? Let us know in the comments, because I'm always looking for more games to bring to places, to bring more people into this wonderful hobby that we have. Thank you so very much for hanging out. If you did enjoy the content, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I appreciate you, and have a fantastic holiday season. See you around.